Today, what I want to talk about, probably because I'm experiencing it right now, is one of the most overlooked factors when it comes to getting healthy. And so often when you're at that point in life where you want to see the weight go and you're worrying about what you eat or how much you exercise, those are kind of the two main components that get a lot of attention. Oh, hey, Bev, nice to see you. And yet there are so many other things, especially, here's what I found too. So I'm 43, and I found that, in your 20s and 30s, you can kind of get by with some like pretty haphazard health habits and kind of coast through it. But in your 40s, and for my clients who are in their 50s and 60s, your habits catch up with you. Right? The things that maybe haven't been awesome kind of, it's kind of like, oh man, whether it's exercise and you're more slow, or if you're are more slower to heal. But what I've seen lately is, and I work with women all over the world who are at their wits' end, wanting to lose weight, focusing and trying so many different things, often jumping from diet to diet, doing things that they hope will work, or then it doesn't, and then there's disappointment. Can you guess? I mean, if you can guess, if you've joined, and if you can imagine where I'm about to go with this conversation, just type it in the comments so I can let you know if you're right or not. And I'm going to wait and see. You might be thinking in your head, but honestly, I want to get real today about the role of sleep. Sleep, you guys, honest to God, sleep is one of the most overlooked factors in getting healthy and the ability to lose weight. And I'm going to tell you why, because what happens is, sleep is kind of this thing where we can go all day long, right? You can get up at 6 or at 7. Maybe you don't, you hit the alarm over and over because you're so tired, but you want, and then you go all day. And then if you've got kids, or if you're busy with your career or your family, you kind of do the second shift at night, and then 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock comes around and you're tired, but finally the house is kind of settled, and it's sort of like this sacred space where you've got you time. And so many people want to relax in that downtime, and that can include, sometimes it's being on the phone, or maybe it's catching up on some work, but so often it's just relaxing and vegging and chilling, or whatever the word you want to use is, and watching Netflix or watching TV. And you can have the best of intentions to sit down for like a show, and then 3 shows later or 4 shows later, you're still awake, and it's like midnight or even later. And so you haul your butt to bed and you go to sleep for maybe 5-6 hours, and then the whole cycle repeats. So the reason that this is so hard, right? So here's what I want you to think about for yourself. Ask yourself this: do you experience sugar cravings? Are you drinking a lot of coffee to make it through the day? At night, when things have settled, do you feel like something to eat? Are you craving the sweet or the salty, the crunchy? Are there things where, through the day around 3 o'clock at night, you feel like you need 3 o'clock in the afternoon, do you need a bit of a pick-me-up? Are you reaching for like some chocolate, or maybe another coffee or a latte because you just feel that energy crash? Or do you ever feel like you start something, like you're going to have maybe, say, a little bowl of ice cream, and then you feel like you just can't stop? It's like, I'm full, I know I should quit eating, but I don't feel like I can stop. Or do you say to yourself, why? Why do I know better but can't do better? Well, a lot of this, it's not about willpower. So then this is what happens. You think it's about willpower. You think it's about discipline. You think that somehow if you were maybe just better or more committed, this wouldn't be such a challenge for you. And instead, what I see failing to be recognized is the impact that lack of sleep, even one night of minor sleep deprivation, the impact it can have on your brain. Okay, so this is important because, especially for the why do I know better but not do better? When you are sleep deprived, we know from research studies on the brain and magnetic resonance imaging and how they track, your thought process, we know that the frontal cortex becomes impaired. And what that means is the decision center, right, the decision-making center of your brain is now less able to make good decisions. So you are now less able to make good decisions, and at the exact same time, when you are sleep deprived, junk food to a sleep deprived brain looks more appealing, more delicious, you want it more, and you want it way more compared to when you are rested. All right. So it's like this double whammy, you guys. It's like all of a sudden you've got this, junk in your house, or you feel like you want something, you're tired, you don't have the energy to push away the thoughts that you're tired or to make a better decision. So you go and you start to have a bit of some snacks or whatever. And you have to remember, all of these companies, all of the companies that produce junky food or snack type food, they are designing it so that you can eat the maximum amount of the maximum quantity or volume of their product at a time without getting sick of it, right? So that means if you go and you just get a bag of chips and you're starting to eat out of it, there's no cues to let you know that you need to be done, right? You will just keep eating. And they design it so that it's called the snackability of it. They actually have a term for it. So that's why you can't stop. And then the other thing is, and it is the hormone disruption that happens with lack of sleep, right? So here's this cascade, and I really want this to sink in, because especially if you're trying to use willpower and discipline and you're beating yourself up and wondering, why can't you get a handle on this? And yet you're tired. It's kind of like the life reset, right? It's like, what I'm doing is not working for me. There has to be that awareness that, holy cow, I did not know that, living so burnt out or so exhausted all the time. I mean, I know I'm tired, but I didn't understand the impact. At least that's what it required from me. And totally transparently, what happens is when you're tired like that, there's often a desire to soothe, right? So Julie Hodge, hey Julie, hey Doreen, and that me time at night is often accompanied by the glass of wine and then maybe some chips, right? So there's a cycle, and that gives us this temporary relief of feeling good, or of just being able to numb and escape and just decompress in a moment, right? But that moment is so fleeting. So here's what else that happens when you have lack of sleep. And for so many moms that are out there, right? Lack of sleep, I mean, I remember what sleep deprivation feels like. And I guess I wanted to talk about it today because I am really feeling the impact of not having very good quality sleep over the past week or so. And I can feel my desire for sugar. I can feel my desire for coffee. In fact, I've given in to one desire. I can feel it, but I have other skill sets that I'm using to manage it. Okay, so here's what else had happened. So one, we know, yeah, Julie, it's still my life too. We know, okay, so fact. Sleep deprivation affects your prefrontal cortex. You now have an impaired decision-making ability, right? So you can know better, but not do better. There's nothing wrong with you. There's actually some brain impact that's happening. Now, let's talk about the hormones for a second here. So now we know that sleep is a restorative process, right? That's what it does. It allows our body to heal, recover, repair itself, and it allows things to be the neurotransmitters and hormones that we need in our body to find their state, right? So sleep deprivation is a physiological stress on your body. Okay, let's talk about the chronic stress most of us are living with right now, really in incredibly unhealthy amounts. So when you are stressed out chronically, what happens is, and you probably know this, right? The cortisol starts to get pumped continuously, and that may be why you've heard of, adrenal failure or adrenal fatigue. And so you've got these things going on where you've got chronic stress and you're living with that constant cortisol secretion. And what cortisol does is cortisol prepares you for fight or flight, right? Cortisol prepares you to run away from the lion or fight off the bad guys. Except when you're sitting at a desk typing to meet a deadline, or you're stressing out about the major meltdown your kid just had, or your financial crisis that you're looking on your bank statements, right? There is no fight or flight happening. You're just living with it. And your brain cannot distinguish between real or imagined scenarios, and it's only responding to what's going on in your nervous system. So now cortisol gets pumped out. So to fight or flight, you need energy, right? So cortisol triggers the release of sugar into your bloodstream. Okay, so now you get high blood sugar, but nothing's gonna get utilized. That blood sugar stays elevated until your pancreas goes, oh, insulin. You gotta put the insulin out there so the sugar can get pushed back in, because your body likes homeostasis, right? That's what your body wants to have. And so then you go into the sugar crashes, right? So now you are taxing your body, not just from a mental impairment kind of way, but also a hormone, your hormones. You're taxing your hormones even more so as well. And it means you can kind of be living in a hormone soup, right? So not only that, you've got two hormones that affect your satiety and hunger, right? So there's ghrelin. I always think of ghrelin as like your gremlin, it's your hunger hormone, and leptin is satiety. When those two hormones get disrupted, you can be eating and have no signal that you're full. And so this is fascinating. And oh, Claire, hey, Claire, nice to see you. And Doreen says too, medicine can have a major impact. So yeah, Doreen, I don't know if you mean like on your sleep or on weight loss or on health, but I mean, medications absolutely can have an impact. And so the goal is, if you are trying to live with energy to thrive, if you're wanting to see the results come because you're putting so much energy and attention and focus onto maybe how you're nourishing yourself with food and the way that you're moving your body, and yet unknowingly to you, you're also self-sabotaging by burning the candle at both ends, that is something you can totally change, right? And sometimes it means you have to give up something that you kind of like in order to get something that you love. You know, and I think that's the hard thing, is sometimes we are so good, women are so good at tolerating and handling and suffering that we can take it, especially all of you who are high capacity women, right? Women who, you know, you can handle a lot. In fact, that's kind of part of your identity. You can cope with it. But there's a cost. And the cost is that lack of sleep, sure. I mean, coffee can give you that little boost if you need it, but it's not a sustainable tool. It's not a sustainable crutch, because that also, right, too much caffeine can then also tax your body in another way. And what I'm finding is that so often we are getting so focused on the minutiae of weight loss and what it takes to, like, you know, do we need to pee on little strips and be in ketogenesis? Or do we need to like completely cut out and omit food groups and stop eating soy and dairy because of, because of inflammation? Do we need to stop eating red meat because of our inability to digest it well, and all the research that's coming out linking it to heart disease and cancer? I mean, there are so many ways that we can go to escalate the crazy in our own mind and to make this journey so much harder than it actually needs to be. Sleep is good. You know, have you ever like felt that feeling where you get a good night's rest, and how everything can seem brighter the next day, how emotions just aren't so high, about how stress seems to like dissipate a little bit, you know, and that's something that you get to choose. And so my question is, why? And maybe if you're like watching right now, share with me or put it in the comments. What is it about that time at night? It's sort of from like 9 to midnight. I find it's almost like the woman's like, but like witching hour for us. Like for kids, it's 5 to 7 or 4 to 7. That can be a little bit unruly. But I almost feel like we are unruly ourselves. You know, it's kind of like because no one's there to parent us and take care of us and say, okay, honey, you've had a long day. It's time to go to bed. Let me like tuck you in. We are able to kind of just revert to our own selves and our habits. What is Doreen says, you're a walking encyclopedia. Oh, thank you. Well, I have spent a long time learning, trust me. And Julie, that gets way too confusing and makes women even more confused, stressed, and overwhelmed. I know, right, Julie? I know. Like, so Julie Hodge, she's a friend of mine and a colleague who specializes in fitness and training and health. And, you know, what happens is, yeah, the overwhelm, the minute we think that it's going to take such a long time, or that we're going to have to make so many changes to lose weight, it's kind of like, screw it. Right? I'm tired. I deserve to be happy. I want to have a treat at night. You know, I work long hours, or I give so much to everybody else. And that's it right there. You give so much to everybody else, right? You take care of your kids, your partner, you know, your company, your career, your colleagues. You give and give and give. And what happens is, in a way, we choose to live in a depleted state. And I chose to live in a depleted state for far too long. It's part of my story if you don't know it. I ended up getting mono when I was like 38, you guys, like mono. And I simply thought I had a sore throat. Like, I was in such denial, right? I challenged my thyroid due to chronic stress. I challenged my thyroid or my cortisol and my adrenals due to, sleep deprivation. And I still did it. And so you have to ask yourself, what's your wake-up call, right? What's going to be the thing that goes, oh, God, I could change that. I don't need to watch that show again, you know, at night. I can like PVR it. Or if it's Netflix, you can just watch it the next day, right? Why is it that we're willing to not take care of ourselves? And sometimes I hear things like, well, it just feels good to, have some time to myself. It feels good to, not have to worry and just kind of have a night to relax and chill. And that's fine if it was just one night. The problem is that for many women, this is like a nightly habit. It is like Monday to Friday of staying up till 11 or 12. And then on the weekends, it can be even later. And, the sleep that you get before midnight is some of the most important restorative rest that you can actually get. And, if you're choosing to ignore that, just see what happens this week. Like maybe the one thing you can take from this, if you're watching it live or watching the replay, is, Jen says if I get more sleep, it's actually going to help me, lose weight. What if that's true? Would that motivate you? Would you be willing to challenge yourself for 2 weeks to go to bed just that half hour earlier, to turn off your phone, to not be checking everything at night right before you go to bed? What if that could be the thing that actually allowed your body to, restore itself, for your mental cognition, to eliminate brain fog, right? What if brain fog and belly fat and just feeling like so gross sometimes and so tired could all be different if you let yourself sleep? I can say that, I love sleep. I'm not, I'm lucky that I don't have sleep challenges unless I do them to myself by working too late or, watching Game of Thrones or whatever Netflix series you might be engaged in. I can challenge my own sleep by just simply choosing to not get the quantity. Now, sometimes there's more than that going on for women, right? There might be perimenopause, menopause issues, hot flashes. Maybe you've got a partner who snores or goes to bed at different times. There's all of these things. But what I want you to start to see is that everything's interconnected, and food is just one small piece. And it is never just about willpower and discipline. It is so much more interconnected and holistic. And what I love is that I've got a special project I'm working on. It's called the Weight Loss Code. So that is happening next month. We're just putting together the most amazing free event for you. So I will be talking about it and sharing it more. But it's expanding your awareness to go, oh my God, especially if in your 40s and 50s and 60s. I mean, now is the time, right? Because what we got by on with our youth, it does catch up to us. And, counting calories and getting all nitpicky or thinking you need to go vegan or, juice 3 times a day or, exercise and you hate exercise. And so therefore you have the belief mindset that you can't lose weight. I mean, what if you just decided to be a little gentler on your body, love it a bit more, let it rest so that you don't have to live in such a hormonal soup, and you decreased the physiological stress on your body and saw what happened? What if you didn't have to battle with this, inner dialogue around mindset about thinking that you don't have willpower and commitment because you know better but can't do better at 10 o'clock at night? And what if you were just in bed and you didn't even have to fight that battle anyways because you were doing what you needed to do to take care of you? I am so passionate about helping women escape the shackles of feeling like they have to live their life feeling like crap. Because when you learn what's on the other side of it, it feels good, right? It feels good to feel good. And these temporary things that we indulge in to bring about fleeting, momentary glimpses of indulgence, it doesn't last, right? We want to try to up-level our personal health on all levels so that we can feel good all of the time, not for that 2 hours of vegging out at night when we're depleted and exhausted and wanting to crumble, or even giving your family the crumbs of your energy, right? They don't deserve that, and you don't deserve to live like that. And so each week, right, I'm coming back here on Mondays at noon to really kind of share what I know, and to talk about what's real. Right? My sleep deprivation created a whole host of problems for me, including my inability to lose almost 38 pounds. I stopped counting when I saw that number, okay? And I did a complete life set to lose it and keep it off. I still have to work on me, all right? 6, 7 years later, I am still doing my inner work. I am still working on my mental game to continue to develop my emotional and mental resilience. And I can only do that best when I'm well rested. So please, 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 if you're watching and you know that you're challenging your sleep, I'm just giving little likes there. Thanks, you guys. Experiment, right? Start tonight. Just simply decide, I'm going to bed at 9:30. And it may seem crazy. That may seem so early. You might even have trouble falling asleep the first night, but give it a try. Be consistent with it. It's like eating green juice or drinking green juice once. You might hate it. I did. But after a while, it became my habit, and I learned to love my new habit, right? You never love the change you're creating. You love what you used to do because of how your brain was wired. So you got to work on changing the wiring so you can love what you want to do, right? It's kind of like it's a little mind, it's kind of, I can't say it all. I was going to say mind. It's like a mind game. So be willing to play those mind games with yourself for good, not for evil. Thank you. Please share this with your community if you think that other women that you are connected with could benefit from hearing this message around get some rest.